Hey Sophia, thanks for your response. It's good to write out your thoughts sometimes, so I think I understand why you chose that route. Um, like now, I'm just speaking off the cuff, and I have a few ideas of what I wanted to respond to in the text that you posted. But if I had written it out before, it would be more organized and easy for people to follow. But I guess this is just my style. Um, I guess I wanted to point out, which something I'm sure you're aware of, that the term religion applies to more than just the monotheistic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, um, Islam, um, and you could argue that Hinduism is monotheistic, um, but there's a different spin on the Hindu God, which is that it's not separate from the created universe, whereas in our Western Judeo-Christian traditions, God is this separate entity. But then there are other religions where there is no God at all, like Buddhism and Taoism. Um, there's no need to believe in anything really. It's all based on your own uh, deep meditative experience and contemplation. And even within the monotheistic traditions in Judaism and Christianity and Islam, there are varying strains of approaches to understanding what this symbol God means, various ways of relating to it. Um, and, there's a certain very shallow literalistic sense uh, that some people attach to where, everything in the Bible is word for word literally true, and questioning that is a sin, and so you can't do it personally, and anybody who approaches you with an idea that doesn't fit into that box is automatically labeled a sinner, and you can't listen to them, and sometimes they'll even be hostile to those people that think outside the biblical, literalistic biblical box. And I would reject that pretty quickly, as quickly as you would. Not in a hostile way, unless the person was hostile to me. But even then, it's just not part of who I am to respond in a hostile way. But I think it's the minority of religious people that are like that are very fundamentalist and literalistic about their beliefs. Most people are more open minded than that because it takes a lot of work to be that narrow minded. Much more than just being open to discussing ideas with people in a free flowing way, which religious or not, I think most people are capable of that. Um, and there's this strain of Christianity in mostly in America, I guess, that's they call themselves creationists or uh, intelligent designers, I guess you could say, and they do think of God as some kind of a theory to explain nature. Now, I I think that's a terrible idea, not only because it's bad science, but it's bad spirituality. You know, Even within the theistic frame of reference, faith is supposed to be a trust in something that you cannot know, that you cannot have proof for, that you cannot rationally derive. You have faith in something completely impossible and bizarre by all normal standards, precisely because that's what faith means. It's supposed to be absurd, and it's part of giving yourself to this ideal, which what you have faith in is Christ, right? In the You have faith in the idea that this being, this divine being, saved you and everybody else. And when someone really gives their hearts to that idea, um, they can't prove it. It's just something that they they express by living it. Jesus was the Word become flesh, right? And I don't even consider myself a Christian, but a practicing Christian at least, even though I recognize that so much of our culture is derived from the Christian roots, that, to say I'm not a Christian would be kind of disingenuous. The whole idea of being an individual with rights and so forth is a product of the Christian, psychological evolution, and whether or not you identify yourself with that past or not, the fact that you are an individual, and consider yourself as, somehow, um, autonomous and so forth. I mean, it's all based in this Christian project. So I don't consider myself a religious Christian, but I recognize that so much of who we all are, just by virtue of our cultural milieu, is it's soaked in the Christian ideals. And so I guess it's just, religion is such a complex issue. Even though there are those that simplify it, there are those Christians or theists in general that simplify it and take it literally, as I said. But there are also the atheists that simplify it too much, and think that God can only mean one thing. But every religious person has their own way of relating to that symbol, and for some people, it doesn't interfere with their thirst for knowledge, for scientific knowledge. It in fact enlivens their life and makes them more compassionate people, gives them a reason to express themselves in a loving and compassionate way. Whereas without that sense of purpose, they wouldn't be able to have a foundation from which to act in that sense. So some atheists have this idea that we should strive to live in a world free of religion. And I think we should try to live in a world free of literalistic, dogmatic belief in some specific doctrine or what have you. But a world free of religion and spirituality, I don't think that's possible, nor is it desirable. Um, Human beings need to have a purpose, a greater purpose, a meaning. Otherwise, we have nothing. We can't live without that psychologically. And if Christianity fills that need for meaning for people, then why not? If it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. But you can't call them ignorant, because there's nothing about being religious that precludes being open to the discoveries of science. Um, you know, if you're interested to see how it is that science and religion can commingle and learn something from one another, a good example of an author to check out is Michael Dowd, who wrote a book called Thank God for Evolution, where he tries to synthesize Christianity and spirituality in general with the science of evolution, to show how, okay, we obviously as Christians need to throw out this literal creation story where the earth and everything was created in 4004 BC, and that species are just permanent fixtures that God created individually and they never change. Obviously that has to be thrown out, and so he tries to reinterpret Christianity in light of the evolutionary picture from Big Bang to modern human civilization today, as God's creation, which is still in the process of unfolding, so it's not finished, and God isn't separate from this creative process, which is, as I said at the beginning about Hinduism, how God is transcendent but also immanent. It's a view of spiritual reality, or spirituality, spiritual reality, that we haven't considered in the West until quite recently, as the Eastern religions have been saturating our mindset. So check out Michael Dowd, thankgodforevolution.com, and you'll see that it's possible to bring science and religion together in a way that benefits both. So yeah, I'll stop now and keep this under 10 minutes, but I really appreciate your response, Sophia, and I'd love to keep the dialogue going, so have a good night.